Omkar Pranayama is essentially just the Om mantra during Rechaka or exhalation. Now, when we think about the mantra Om, there are actually three syllables to the mantra. There's the first syllable, the A portion, and then the second syllable, the O portion, and then the third part, the M. And technically, there is another part of the Om mantra, which is the silence immediately following the And from an energetic resonance, the Ah has a very strong effect on the Vishuddha throat chakra. The U has a strong resonance around Ajna, around the third eye. And the has a stimulation and activation of Sahasrara, as well as that silent part that follows the And situations where I like to use this pranayama is when I find that students might seem shy in their voice, reluctant to participate in your ohms at the beginning or at the end of your classes. This pranayama technique really helps to get those students out of their shyness. Now, related to those three different parts, the Ah portion has its own name also. The Ah of the Om, from the perspective of the pranayama, will be a sustained Ah. So that means that for the entire duration of your Ah, you'll just use a yogic breath as you empty all of that out. I'll demonstrate this momentarily, but we call this Akar Pranayama. And then the U portion, as you ooh out that big yogic breath, this is called Ukar, and the is Mkar Pranayama. So we have Akar, Ukar, and Umkar all joined together to make Omkar, the Om. This will begin to make some sense as I demonstrate. So the idea with Akar, the first syllable of the Om, and the sound Ah, the idea here is to take a full yogic breath in, and at the top of that breath, when you start to emulate the Ah sound, is you sustain that Ah sound until you've completely expelled all of the air out. Try not to fluctuate the sound vibration too much and keep it relatively as steady as possible. It's helpful to keep the chin lifted so you can maintain that tone. Watch. I'll inhale and exhale, and I'll breathe in for Akar. And there was a little bit of resonance there. I'm not a trained singer, and it's almost impossible for me to maintain that, but that's as well as I can manage, and that's okay. Sometimes you can do this repeatedly. So in the context of a class, as you're teaching these pranayamas, you might do as many as 3 to 5 akars in a row before you move on to the ukars. Ukar pranayama is the second syllable of Om, and it's performed very similarly to how we did the Akar. With this full yogic breath, you'll let out an oo, the middle syllable of Om, for the entire duration of that breath. Allow me to demonstrate that. I'm going to inhale fully, exhale completely, and then breathe in for Ukar. And then the same idea applies to the Mkar as well. Inhale, exhale, full breath in for Umkar. So if you're going to repeat Akar for 3 rounds, you would repeat Ukar for 3 rounds, and then you would repeat the Mkar for 3 rounds. And they are done successively. So you would complete all of your Akars before you move to the Ukars, and then you would complete all of the Ukars before you move to the Mkars, and you would complete all of the Mkars before you then go back and put all of them together for your Omkar, or basically your Om mantra. Full breath in. Complete breath out. Full breath in for Omkar. The Om mantra has a ratio associated with it, and the ratio is 2, 3, and 5. What that means is that the ratio of 2 applies to the Akar portion of Om, the ratio of 3 applies to the Ukar portion of Om, and the ratio of 5 applies to the Mkar portion of Om. Another way of explaining the ratio is that, for example, if your Om, the entirety of your Om is only 10 seconds long, the first 2 seconds of your Om would be spent in the A portion. The next 3 seconds of the Om would be spent in the U portion. And then the final 5 seconds of the Om would be the portion. Now this varies differently depending on who is expressing the Om, as we all have different sizes of lung capacity and we all have different durations that our total Om might be. And so this doesn't need to be something that is exact or something that you necessarily beat yourself up over or stress over. But as you express your Om, try to pair your A, U, and portions of that Om to the ratio 2, 3, and 5. As I mentioned, I think that this pranayama is really beneficial in helping students get over their shyness and their comfort level with oming. And it's really cool in a classroom setting when you have a number of people all doing this together. When you have people expressing their ahs and their oohs and their ums, the sound vibration really affects the room and everybody is touched by it, which is an interesting point to oming overall, is that even students who are uncomfortable with oming are the recipient of the sound vibration of the other ohms happening in the room, and they're still receiving a benefit from those ohms. Let's practice together. What do you say? We'll do one akar, then one ukar, then one mkar, and then do one omkar, all in a row successively after each other. Now, you don't have to wait for me to finish mine. If you run out of breath and you're ready for your next round, go right into it. So what that means is after you finish your ah, just take a deep breath in and go right into your oo. And after you finish your oo, take another deep breath in, go right into your And then after you finish take a deep breath in and go into your om. Don't wait for me. We'll all reconvene at the end. Take a normal breath in and let a breath out. Full inhale to begin. one last bit of advice about oming for your class, or Omkar mantra, Omkar Pranayama. If you decide to do this in your class, you have to go with it. You have to commit to it. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid. Don't wait for your students to lead the way. You're the teacher in this case, and you have to lead the charge, because it's very, very sad and disturbing when the teacher is expecting the students to lead the charge and they let out a very sad, or I don't want to use the word pathetic, but it's kind of pathetic, Om. Om. You don't want to be the teacher in that situation. If you decide to do it, you got to go for it. Omkar Pranayama.